Should the Detroit Pistons be interested in trading for Kevin Durant? In today's episode, I'll tell you guys why it could make some sense for the Pistons to go after the superstar legend. Today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Again, I want to thank you guys for being everydayers and supporting this podcast for the last 4 years since I've been covering the team for Locked On Pistons. I really appreciate all of you guys. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today is going to be a very fun episode. It's going to be a full trade discussion episode. We're going to start with the legend himself, Kevin Durant. Should the Pistons be interested in trading for him? We'll start there. Then we'll move into whether the Pistons should actually have interest in Lauri Markkanen, as there's been some rumors going around the last few days that the Pistons could show some interest in the Utah Jazz star. And then to wrap up the podcast, I want to talk to you guys much later on about just to have a pep talk with you guys and really go through some of the discussions that's going on in the community and why I need everyone to please just reevaluate where they're at. And you guys will know where I'm talking about when we get there. But let's go into it. You guys know it. Description down below for the SUBSTACK and the playback. The Jane Ivey season review is doing amazing. It's the best season review, best article I have over on the SUBSTACK. You guys have loved it. If you haven't checked it out, go over there and check it out. But let's go ahead and get into it. The whole reason why this Kevin Durant to Detroit Pistons talk is even being had, because before today, I would assume it was probably I would assume it would be a waste of time to even discuss maybe KD going to the Detroit Pistons. But today on First Take, Stephen A. Smith, he put his top 5 list for teams he'd like to see KD go to and Giannis to go to. And in his top 5 for KD to go to, he had the Detroit Pistons, number 4. And after he put the Pistons, Jay Williams started talking about how he was interested in it. I think that's Markieff and Marcus Morris both on there saying, oh, they would have loved that. By the way, I know I'm pulling from First Take for some content here, so I get how this could be hypocritical a little bit. Please turn off First Take. I mean, this is just getting like some of the stuff that they talk about. Like the NBA Finals is actively going on, and some of the stuff that's going on is just like, dude, like, why is basketball analysis so bad on a national scale? Like, just get me on there, and it'd be so much better. But, yeah, so Stephen A. had KD going to the Pistons as, like, his 4th favorite team to see him go to. So now, obviously, we have to talk about it. Should the Detroit Pistons be interested in Kevin Durant? Well, there's a reason to be interested, and there's a reason to not be interested. And I actually think when it first was recommended, when I first saw the video, my first reaction was, absolutely not. Why would the Pistons be interested in KD? But I'm not going to lie to you. There is a bit of me that's kind of like, okay, I can see how it can make some sense. That sense being this. He's on an expiring contract, making $54 million this year. He's not on long-term money. It's not like you're handicapping your salary cap moving forward for the next few years. It'd only be this year you'd commit to him. If it goes well, you probably sign like a 2-year extension with them. A 2-year extension around $60 million is probably what I would expect, is if things were to have gone well with him this year with Cade in Detroit, whatever. So it's not like you are severely capping yourself 5 years down the line by making this move. That's one. The second thing is, it sounds like from recent reporting that the Suns are just not in a position of leverage here and are not going to be able to get this haul for a guy that is 37. They honestly probably shouldn't get that too much of a haul for him. But is 37 years old, has been, injury prone is probably too far, but KD has not been the most healthy player since the Achilles injury. He's missed a lot of games per year. And while KD, I'm kind of drifting into the negatives here, so I guess I'll save that. But basically, my point is, it wouldn't cost, I don't believe, a crap ton. And when I say a crap ton, I don't mean, oh, you can just offer Tech and Sasser. I mean, yes, you probably would have to give up first and a young player, But for someone of KD's stature, you probably would be originally thinking like, oh, multiple picks, multiple young players, etc. And I don't think it would take all that. And still, KD is one of the best jump shooters in the NBA. He's one of the best half-court players, half-court scorers, I should say, in the entire NBA still. He's getting better and better as a jump shooter, as just a tough shot maker still at age 30. It's honestly crazy to see. This past year, he shot 43% on threes on 6 attempts. I mean, I don't think I need to explain to you guys how insane KD is still within a half-court offense as a scorer. As nothing but a scorer, he is still just one of the best we've ever seen at this point in his career at 37 years old. So would that be fun to see with Cade? And in a wide-open Eastern Conference that now just saw Darius Garland go down with injury that's going to keep him out the beginning of the regular season. Jason Tatum's out basically all of next year. Giannis might be leaving. With a wide-open Eastern Conference, we're dropping KD into a team like Detroit that was already really good defensively and struggled within the half-court offensively. Would that make them a lot better? Absolutely. Could you make the argument that they could maybe make the NBA Finals? Well, that's when I'm going to start shifting to the negatives, is that I don't know if just dropping KD on this Pistons team would take them to the finals this year. And if we want to just go ahead and guarantee that KD would be healthy, and maybe not even healthy, just he remains Kevin Durant over the next 2 years, which we are seeing guys get older and older and still maintain being this good. I mean, he's 37 right now. It doesn't look like he's slowing down really at all. So let's just say things go well and you sign him to a 2-year extension. Do you believe that you could build within the next 3 years with Cade and KD a championship caliber team? Do you believe you could win the championship with those two guys? And that's where the negatives are. I don't think so. I'm not completely bought that would be the case. I'm not completely sure that you would make the finals. I could think you could maybe make the Eastern Conference Finals for sure in this East, but I'm not completely sure this team would be the best Eastern Conference team. I'm not sure this team would be a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And if you're going to make as big of a move as what trading for Kevin Durant would be, you have to, one, be sure, be almost 100% sure. Like, everything's a risk. You can't bet that. I guess 100% sure isn't the right way, because you can't say 100% anything's going to happen. But you have to be very confident that during this brief timeline with KD that you will reach the finals. That at the very least you will reach the finals and you will be a championship contending team. And I'm not sure, I'm not completely bought in that KD just dropped on the Pistons will do that for a few reasons. One, the Pistons have a lot of other holes on their team still that KD fixes the half-court issue for sure, but he's dropped off defensively. He doesn't get to the rim as much, which I don't think that's too big of an issue, to be honest. But he doesn't get to the rim as much. And because him and Cade would be making around $60 million, he's making $54 million this year. That's KD. I think next contract will be around 60. But because they'd be taking up that much money, would the Pistons be able to fill out the rest of their team? Will the Pistons be able to fill some of the other holes that they have, like two-way players outside their top 3 players in their rotation? Would they be able to upgrade the 8, 9, 10 positions in their rotation confidently, as you've seen from these teams in the finals being as deep as they are? I'm not sure about that. And if you're giving up, let's say, either a Jalen Durant or a Jaden Ivey or, whatever, along with the pick, those are future assets you're giving up. And for it to be a relatively smaller window, I'm not against that for a guy like KD if you believe it would result in a finals appearance in 3 years of title contention. I would, if you could guarantee me that, I maybe would buy into it. But because I'm not completely sure that if you're giving up these future assets for KD, that it would then translate to immediately being a contending team, I'm not sure I would be really in on it. It's not as bad as an idea as I originally thought. I was really out on it immediately. Kind of talked myself into the idea of it, but even still, I mean, we just saw KD with Devin Booker, and I know that team in Phoenix was really lacking depth, but we just saw them completely miss the play-in. Now, I know they're in the West, and that's different. I get it. But completely missed the play-in. And those two guys, Devin Booker and KD, I think most would say are 2 top 20 players at least, maybe 2 top 25-ish, depending where you stand on Devin Booker. And that wasn't even enough to get them into the play-in. So you take that, you just give them Cade and KD, 2 top 15 players, I would say, in the NBA. If you also are having some of these same issues with the depth around them and some of the other holes around the team, now I think the Pistons, to be honest, would be in a better position to handle that than Phoenix was, because you're not giving up Ausar, JD, and Ivy. And if you can keep Ausar, I think that saves your defense. And if you can keep one of JD or JI, I think that would really help. And you still have, bird rights on. Actually, I don't want to get too far into the cap. I may say something wrong there. Either way, my point is I think Detroit would be better equipped to handle that than Phoenix was this past year. I think Phoenix was just screwed, and Bradley Beal making the type of money he was making kind of really sank it, to be honest. My overall point is that KD, while he's still great right now, and if you could guarantee me they would be in the finals during his time, next 2-3 years with the Pistons, if you got him to agree to an extension, which I'm not even sure he would agree to with Detroit, then maybe I'd be all for it. But I'm not completely bought in that would be the case. He would be making up around 35, 36% of the cap. Cade's already making around 30% of the cap. That's a lot to take up with two guys that you're not completely sure are going to be championship ready. So, KD's great. He's a legend. And obviously, if the Pistons, I don't think it's likely it's going to happen anyways, by the way. This is just a random stuff thrown at the wall by Stephen A. Smith. But let's just say if it did happen, obviously it would be incredibly exciting and everyone would be super happy. Like, I don't think anyone would just be like, they have KD on their team. That sucks. I think everybody would honestly be really excited. But yeah, I don't think it's realistic to happen. I don't know if it would be the right move anyways. And I'm not sure that this team would still be a championship team if you just drop KD on it, which is why I would still be out on it, even though the idea of it is pretty cool and interesting, to be honest. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Would you guys be interested in trading for Kevin Durant for the next maybe year, 2 years with the Detroit Pistons? Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up, should the Detroit Pistons trade for Lauri Markkanen of the Utah Jazz? I think that one's a lot more realistic, and we'll talk about why that is coming up. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can now use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year with Monarch Money. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And as I've told you guys many times, go to the description down below. Check out the Substack where Jay and Ivy season review is doing the best numbers of any review film breakdown we've done. You guys are really enjoying that. If you have not checked out the Substack, have not checked out the Jay and Ivy season review, or for that matter, the Ausar Thompson review, Kate Cunningham review, Jalen Durant review, all the film breakdowns from the playoffs, all of that Tobias Harris review, all of it. If you haven't checked it all out, make sure you head to the Substack. I really think you guys will enjoy it a lot. Put a lot of work into it, and it seems like you guys really are enjoying this Jay and Ivy one. So we got more content coming to you guys over there. Stay tuned. But let's go ahead and get into Lauri Markkanen of the Utah Jazz. There are some reports coming out as of late that the Pistons are linked to Lauri Markkanen, that they could be interested in Lauri Markkanen this upcoming offseason, where it seems to be accepted knowledge that Laurie will be traded this offseason. Sounds like Utah wants to move on from him. He probably wants to move on somewhere else. Teams that have interest in him. And this will be the offseason that he actually does get moved. And there's been reports that the Pistons have some interest in him. And ever since that, now we've gotten multiple fake trades thrown out there. I've seen Malik Beasley, I believe, was commenting on an Instagram post about Lauri Markkanen potentially being of interest to the Detroit Pistons, and he basically said, hey, I have ties with him, basically suggesting that he can recruit him to the Pistons. So I think the interest is real. I think this is a lot more realistic to happen than the KD stuff. The KD stuff, you really have to squint for it to make some sense. Lauri Markkanen, I don't think you have to squint that hard for it to make sense. and it fits more in line with the Pistons' timeline. It's a lot more feasible to do. So, Laurie could happen. But instead of like we did with KD, where I start off with the positives, I actually want to start off with why some may be concerned about going after Lauri Markkanen. Because I think that's fair. And when we get to the pep talk that I want to give you guys, or not give you guys, maybe give you guys is the wrong word. This talk I just want to have with you guys later on in regards to trades and acquiring players later on that we're going to have. There are some real questions about Laurie and going after him. The first one is he's getting paid over the next 4 years. 46, 46, 49, 53 million, which is a better way to look at it. 30% of the cap this year, 27% of the cap the next year, 26% of the cap in 2027, and 26% of the cap in 2028. To be honest, when you look at it from the amount of cap he's taken up, the percentage of the cap is nowhere near as bad as the number of the amount of money he's getting. When you hear that, you think, holy God, man, that's way too much money. But when you look at it from the cap percentage-wise, it's not as bad. It is a lot of money. It definitely is a lot of money you're committing to a player, but it's not as much as you would think when you look at the amount of cap he'd actually be taking up. But it is a lot of money. That's number one. But for me, what's even more concerning, the money is not as concerning with me with Laurie because of the amount of cap space he'd be taking up. I don't think it's that drastic to where it's like stopping you from making any moves in the future. It definitely is a lot of money to fork up, but it's not as much as I think people maybe are thinking. What's concerning more so to me is that Laurie had that fantastic season in 2022 and 2023 when he averaged 25 points a game, 8.6 rebounds a game, and he shot nearly 50% from the field, 39% from deep on 7.7 attempts a game. He shot 58% on twos and 87% from the free throw line. That year he was the most improved player. He was an all-star player that year. And there was a lot of noise for him to be an all-NBA player that year, even though he didn't end up getting it. So, that player, if you're getting that player, I 100% want to trade for him. If you're getting that Lauri Markkanen, he 100% is worth going after. The problem is that he has not been that same player the last 2 years. That year, he played 66 games. The following year, 2023-2024, he only played 55 games. And while he maintained his level of efficiency, to be honest, dropped just a little bit in scoring, 23 points a game, he maintained his efficiency, 48% from the field, 40% from deep, 56% on twos, and 90% from the free throw line, maintained his efficiency, but he only played in, I just lost it, where was it? 55 games that year, and the team was nowhere near as competitive that year as they were the previous year. They were really bad that year. And then you go to this past year, I should say, where he only played 47 games, which is now down from even the previous year. And his efficiency dropped off the cliff. 42% from the field, 34% from deep, 87% from the free throw line, only 19 points per game, only 5.9 rebounds a game. Everything just fell off a cliff this year for Laurie. So my biggest question, if you're going to go after Lauri Markkanen, is are you getting the player that is closer to 2 years ago? Or are you getting the player that's closer to what we just saw? Because the player that you just saw is a player that on this contract should have assets attached to him to get off of that. The player you saw 2 years ago is the player that you give up assets to acquire and have on your team. So it's a matter of which player are you actually getting. And I arrive, basically where I get to with this is, I think Laurie is probably in the middle of this, of those two guys. Because over the last 2 years, the Utah Jazz have done everything possible to lose. They have done everything possible to purposely tank. They've made multiple moves to not try to win. They've made multiple moves in season in regards to sitting guys that are injured to lose games. They've thrown games at the end of the year. They've ended guys' seasons early so they can lose. Like, the Utah Jazz are actively throwing games the last 2 years and are not trying to put a winning product on the floor. The year that Laurie was an all-star, he had them in playoff contention with a relatively weak team that no one really thought would be competing for a playoff spot. He had them competing for a playoff spot until they made moves to sell on the season. So there's a big part of me that believes that if Laurie was in a situation like he was their first year in Utah, when they actually had a decent situation of quality players or just veteran players that knew how to play the game of basketball and actually wanted to win, that he will look like that player again and he will contribute to winning. And now a lot of his struggles this past year, more so than the second year. The second year, he was honestly okay. He was honestly fine. But this past year, the struggles really speak more to the fact that Utah is not trying to win. They're actively tanking. They are doing everything possible to make sure they do lose. And he's not in a winning situation. So a lot of that, to me, is attributed to that. I think a lot of Lauri's struggles have to do with the fact that he's playing for a franchise that does not want to win. Also, for the people that have the argument that Lauri Markkanen is not a winning player because he hasn't been on a winning team, I just want you guys to understand that that is the same lazy analysis that people had about Cade Cunningham after last year. If Lauri Markkanen cannot help the fact that he was drafted by the Chicago Bulls, who we are watching be the Chicago Bulls, and now plays for a Utah Jazz team that is headed by Danny Ainge, and he just wants draft picks in the tank. He can't help that. If he was on the right circumstances, within the right context, which really, guys, the right context is simply a team that tries, he would be contributing to winning of some sort. They would not be the worst team in the NBA. He would be contributing to winning of some sort. Now, do I think he's a superstar? Do I think he's the best player on the chance? No, I'm not saying that. But this idea that he can't contribute to winning because look what's happening in Utah. Guys, can we be so for real and just show that you've watched more than 5 games, man? Come on. Utah is actively within games, throwing. They don't want to win. That's a bad faith argument. But that's the negative for one. I should say not the negative. That's the questions you have to ask with Laurie. Is he closer to the guy in 2022, 2023, or is he really the guy we saw this past year? Is it more about the team structure around him? Is it more about the franchise tanking? Or is it that Laurie had that one fluke year, or I guess you could say 2 fluke years, because the second year he was pretty good still, and then this year's closer to who he actually is? That's the question you got to answer. If you don't believe he can get back to that player he was in 2022, 2023, and even 2023, 2024, if you don't believe he can be that player, then you should not have any interest in him at all. But if you do believe that he can be that player, and this past year's struggles are more so due to the franchise, then he is an incredibly versatile scoring option at the 4 position that has size, that is one of the better outside shooters in the entire NBA at his position, at the 4-man position. I mean, look, in 2023, coming off screens, 87th percentile. Spot up, 95th percentile. Handoffs, 95th percentile. Roll man, 90th percentile. And transition, 82nd percentile. Cut, 64th percentile. Putback, 85th percentile. Isolation, 94th percentile. If he is closer to that guy, that's a guy that can score in just about every single way on the court while being 7 foot, while being able to jump out the building, while all of this stuff he brings to your offense is stuff the Pistons desperately need within their half-court offense from their 4 position. So if he's that player, you should go after him. If he's not, along with that contract, you should stay away. And it's up to the Pistons to decide which player is he actually. I don't know. Don't know. I tend to think that it's more so about the fact that he's playing for a bad organization that's tanking. But, maybe that was just a fluke year. Maybe he really can't get back to that level of play. And then if you do trade for him, he can't get back to that level of play. You just gave up your assets for a guy that doesn't reach a level of play that you were expecting, and now it really looks bad on you because now he's on the contract for the next 4 years. So it definitely, it's not an automatic yes, but it definitely is worth considering because I think Laurie would fit very well. I can only imagine Cade with a stretch 4, or not even a stretch 4, it's 2025. A legit elite offensive scoring 4 like Laurie within the half court. What that would do to their half court offense, how that would space the floor, what the different type of wrinkles it would do to their offense within the half court. I think it would be incredibly fun to watch if he is closer to that player we saw a few years ago. But let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Would you be interested in Lauri Markkanen, and do you believe the Detroit Pistons should trade for him this offseason? Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. And then coming up, I just got to have a talk with whoever it resonates with. I got to have a talk about the Pistons every single time they're rumored to be interested in a player, maybe they should trade for this player or that player, I have to have a talk about how we need to be reacting, or people should be reacting to these kind of rumors and discussions. We'll talk about what I mean coming up. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player does 50 or more points in a playoff game, finals, we got maybe 3 more games. Let's see if SGA can do it. Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more, use the code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid from noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. Now, any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 order or more and code Wingstop50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply with DoorDash. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free to available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Check out the description down below, again, for the Substack and the playback where we watch the rest of the finals together, live watch parties in the Substack where you guys get all the reviews, all the film breakdowns that I have already done, and they are coming to you guys as much as possible over the rest of the summer. But really, guys, so this is why I wanted to make this final segment to talk about, because I'm getting frustrated with some of the talk I see in the Pistons community every single time the Pistons are rumored to be interested in any star or in any player. And really what pushed me over the edge, I'm not going to lie to you guys, what really pushed me over the edge was when it was rumored that the Pistons could, or not even rumored, just thrown out there by somebody, could the Pistons be a good spot for Giannis? Should they go after Giannis? And so many people were like, absolutely not. Why would you trade for Giannis? When I saw that people were like that for a potentially a top 2 player in the entire NBA, a top 15 player of all time, in my opinion, when I saw that, I was like, okay, dude, we've lost the plot. We've lost the plot. Because if you don't want to trade for Giannis, there's no one you're going to want to trade for. And every single time any player comes up as a possible trade target, any player, every single time, all I see is tearing apart why this player is not perfect and why this player would not work for this team, instead of all the things they actually would bring to this team and why it makes sense. So I will go ahead and use Lauri Markkanen as an example. There are real reasons to be questionable about why the Pistons should, or whether the Pistons should go after Lauri Markkanen. Like we've talked about, is he closer to the player he was 2023, or is he more the player now? It is a hefty contract. Do you want to give up assets for that contract? Even though I don't think it's as hefty as you actually think on first glance. Okay, that's fair stuff to bring up. But when I start seeing he's not a winning player, like, guys, when I see that, it's just like, it just tells me what you really want to say. The people who say that, what you really want to say is you just don't want to trade the young guys for anybody. Because unless this guy, or any of, not young guys, a young guy or a pick for anybody, you just don't want to make any trades. That's the kind of lazy analysis, like I said earlier, that people use for Cade after last year. When it's so very obvious, for almost 95% of the time, anytime a player is called a non-winning player, usually it just means they're in a trash environment and being asked to do things they shouldn't be asked to do. And if they were in the right context, they 100% would contribute to winning. That's how it is for almost 95% of basketball players. Like, that's how it is. And this, anytime the topic of, oh, they haven't won, so therefore they're not a winning player, is usually just lazy analysis for people who haven't watched enough of the player, but they see win-loss. It's very lazy. That's the first thing. Second, and this is the one I'm really confused about, is that some of these players that the Pistons are rumored to be interested in aren't the greatest defenders. So therefore, people have said, well, the Pistons' identity is defense, which is true. The Pistons' identity is defense. Why would you bring in a guy who's not going to contribute to that identity and trade away young guys? Stay away from him. I would understand that. Like, I would be more receptive to that argument towards players. If in the same breath if not for in the same breath, those people are also asking to extend 2 bad defenders to $30 million extensions this offseason. You can't in one, like, that's where the hypocritical, these thoughts don't make sense. And again, it just boils down to me that a lot of people are too hung up and too attached to this last year's team. That was a magical season, but people are allowing the magical season to blind them from legit flaws that this roster had, from the fact that they did lose in round 1, and then in that they have things that they have to improve upon. It really is just a mask for, I don't want to make any moves. I love this team so much that we just saw. I want to see them again. That's what I believe it really is. Because you can't say you don't want to trade for a guy that isn't great on defense, and then in the same breath come and tell me that you want to extend Jaden Ivey to a $27 million contract, and you want to extend Jalen Durant to a $27 million contract. You can't in the same breath believe both those things. Because Jalen Durant and Jaden Ivey are both bad defenders. We've went through all the data that suggests that as soon as Ausar Thompson leaves the floor away from Jalen Durant, the defense just crashes. Almost all of the data points that we can find suggest that Durant is only passable defensively when he plays with Ausar Thompson. Which, if they're going to play those two guys together, then fine. Like, it works. He covers for him defensively, then you get the offensive value from Durant. Fine. But you're asking that he is individually still a bad defender. Jaden Ivey is a bad defender. But yet everyone wants not everyone, too many people are just flat out saying, let's extend these guys, and then the same breath saying, don't trade them for anybody that can't play defense. We'd rather just extend guys on our team that already can't play defense. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I would understand those arguments a lot more if in the same bet those people were not asking to extend guys that are also bad on defense, except not as proven to be as good of players as someone like Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen was an all-NBA-ish player 2 years ago. Like, and I'm not saying my point here is not that I'm saying you have to go get Lauri Markkanen. I'm not even in that boat. I don't think the Pistons have to go get him. I don't think it has to be, it's a very obvious move to have to make. That's not my point. My point is that almost every single time any player gets rumored to Detroit, every single time that they're rumored to be, even Miles Turner, when they were I've seen people talk themselves out of wanting Naz Reid on the Pistons because of culture. Like, guys, if we're now at a point where we're saying the Pistons are too good for Naz Reid, we have lost the plot. We have lost the plot. Like, every player the Pistons cannot be too good for. There has to be some player out there that the Pistons can trade for that would be good. There has to be some player out there that if you trade one of the young guys, it actually would be a good thing. But all I've seen is no to Giannis from a lot of people. Don't want Giannis. Do you actually even want Naz Reid? Is Lauri Markkanen even really that good? He's not. He's a losing player. Like, dude, we have to, at some point, we have to draw the line. There are good players outside Detroit. There has to be somebody that the Pistons can go acquire that people would be happy about. There has to be someone. Everyone can't be no. Everyone can't be their bad fits. It can't be everyone. Can't be everyone. That's my I guess my rant that I had to have, because that probably is the most frustrating thing that's going on over the last few weeks of the offseason for me, just sitting back and watching. It's just, to me, it's just frustrating. It doesn't make much sense. But let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. How you guys feel about that? Do you guys agree, disagree with me? Let me know all of that and why in the comment section down below. Again, or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen every single day, being everydayers for Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Check out the Substack. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out, everybody.